Hello, this is DVS once again. Today I want to just really talk about the Warrior. I played this last weekend that we just had, and I was really experimenting with the Warrior a lot. You know, we got the level 25, so we're able to play with it more. I'm just going to maximize this. So yeah, we're able to play with it more, and I just want to go over the general what I thought of it. Like, what I thought about the Warrior this week really stepped up a lot from how I was playing it and was thinking about it last week. So I just want to go over just my thoughts and opinions, kind of like revising of the video I did about the Warrior. And I really have a complete different view on the Warrior now, actually. Just because, you know, I really tested out all the abilities that we have available right now and really set up the most optimizable, I guess you could say, standard ability setup. Now, you might be wondering, oh, what do you mean by that? Well, usually in most classes, you know, you usually have 3 abilities that you always have, whether it be a rotation or it could be simply that, you know, 2 of the 3 abilities you're always spamming. That 3rd ability is kind of like a proc that I usually do every 15 seconds, and you don't even need it most of the time, but it's something that enhances your other abilities. So you know what, every class has those 3 or 4 abilities that they're always using. So yeah, I'm gonna go over that today, and I'm going to talk about a lot of things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the screen into half, just like this. I'm actually going to have some gameplay of my Warrior on the left side, and I'm going to be talking about everything on the right side. So if you guys think it's boring looking at all the abilities on the right side, well, you can just look at the gameplay on the left side. See how that works? It's beautiful. The volume's off, so you're not going to hear any in-game volume. You're just going to hear the music in the background of my voice. So yeah, okay, let's talk about abilities. Now, the abilities that I'm really running is, let's see if I can reset this. First of all, here's the amps. Before we get into the abilities, this is the actual amp setup that I'm using currently in this dungeon. Now, what I got here is I got some deflection. I got some really core, I consider tier 2 amps, and I got my bolstering strike, which is my tier 3, but that's a given. It's already given to you. You don't have to unlock it through any amps. And I actually have some shield capacity here. I'm going to talk about this. So deflect is always good. You should always have this kind of maxed out right here with tanks and also your support, but I don't really need this support because I have very high level gear right now. So I have a lot of support power. I don't need any more. I want to talk about these amps right here. I have the MK2 battle suit. So basically there's a 10% chance that I think right now for the level I'm at, I think it's roughly about like 456 health. So I'm getting a lot of health actually, and it can occur every 3 seconds. So right now I think I have about like 500 ish support power. So yeah, it's about 450 right now. But yeah, this is really helpful. You know, it can only happen every 3 seconds. There's a 10% chance, but because as a warrior I take constant damage, I'm not deflecting as much as an engineer, or have a pet so that I'm not taking any damage. So I'm constantly taking damage as a warrior, and this is very, very helpful. So if you get like 10 of these, that's almost the equivalent to using a potion. So basically you can get a free potion if you proc this 10 times. Now onto the connect buffer. When I have my connect energy, it's always above 750. It's pretty much always maxed out. Or floating between like 750 and maxed out. Now, full defense, again, I always have it maxed out between like 750 and maxed out. Now, basically, with this, I'm getting more deflect and deflect critical by 5%. I'm getting more damage mitigation by 4.5%. And I'm going to show you with the ability setups where this how it all ties in after. And Bolstering Strike, I'm also going to go in great detail about Bolstering Strike. So once I get over to abilities, you'll clear up and you'll understand more. So heading back over to abilities, I want to just show you the basic abilities that you should always have on your warrior tank if you're rolling a warrior tank. Now, I can go into the DPS portion just a bit. I'm going to because it's very quick. I'm going to show you like the main rotation, but I just want to focus on the secondary because a lot of people in this game want to tank and heal. So this is, this is very important if you're looking to warrior tank right now. But I will go into DPS if you guys are wondering. Now, the main ability is Menacing Strike, Bolstering Strike. And actually, because I'm at level 25, I have these at both tier 4. Now, you might be thinking, well, what does this really do for me? Well, you get 50% chance to gain efficiency for 5 seconds. Now, what that does, it reduces your kinetic decay, so how much it decays, and stacks up 3 times. So this is really good, especially if you have builds that incorporate, like, I don't know, let's say you have a build that doesn't have a lot of other abilities that generate kinetic energy. So you might have to stop doing your auto attacks, and you'll have to switch over and do, like, I don't know, let's say Plasma Wall, or what's another going on, Expulsion, Atomic Surge, stuff that doesn't really, well, scratch Atomic Surge, Bum Rush, stuff that doesn't really generate any threats. This is really going to help out, especially if you have to move back of a telegraph and you don't have any range abilities like Jolt, for example, that can actually hit the boss and generate threat. This really does help out, especially if you have to, like, dodge out and reposition. Now, the Bolstering Strike, basically when you're depleted in shields, you get extra shields added every single time you activate this. So right now, with the 500 support power, I believe it's about, well, almost 100. It's like 83 shields extra. So this is really good. So you're usually out of shields, and I'll show you why. Now, this is the main rotation. I actually have this macroed so that it's hitting the Bolstering Strike first, and then it's hitting the Menacing Strike. So I'm always hitting Bolstering Strike whenever it comes up. And I have this because I have the Naga Hex mouse, so I have the buttons on my mouse, and I'm constantly spamming the 1 on it. So it's always going to proc the Bolstering Strike before the Menacing Strike. So whenever I have this up, I just use it. Even if you're at full shields, whenever I have this up, just use it, because it comes up every 4 seconds, and it's really no difference in damage. I think the damage is actually, what, slightly reduced by 6%, which is pretty much nothing. It's almost the exact same damage. So always use this when this is up. Now, what I'm gonna do, I don't want to go in for very long talking about just the 2 abilities. I'm just gonna go quickly show you the full setup that I recommend. Now, because I have this on the 7th key, the Bolstering Strike, that's why I took it off, but I'm going to show you how I do this. So right now, actually, if you're watching the video, the main setup that I do, Plasma Blast, it's a taunt, so you get taunt for, I think, it's what, 5 seconds? Yep, it's 5-second taunt, and I actually use this for 2 purposes. Not only is it taunt, but if I know a boss or a mob is going to do a massive AoE, throw this on top of the boss or the mob, because it will reduce the damage dealt to your teammates by 25%. Now this is beautiful, especially if you have Squishy Esper or something, or Spellslinger. Now the second one, I like using Plasma Wall, but also like switching Jolt into the mix. This is kind of like, I find the third ability right off the bat is kind of more of like you're picking and choosing. I also like using Expulsion if I need some debuffs. Jolt if you have to move out of telegraphs and kind of take a range approach for like a few seconds, and you need that constant threat generation and damage. Jolt's really nice. Plasma Wall, if you know something's going to spawn a lot of adds, so a lot of minions, you throw out Plasma Wall. If you're taking a lot of damage, you can say heal, 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 throw out Plasma Wall, reduces all that damage by 30%. Really helps, really helps. Can save your life. But just for this purpose of the video, I'm actually going to put down Kick. Now, Kick is very important because, it's an interrupt, and it's only a 20-second cooldown. So you usually have this up every single time you need to use this interrupt. And I love Kick. Kick is awesome. Now, my fourth ability I was working with is the Polarity Field. The reason why is that it's threat generation, but I can throw this onto a mob or boss. It's going to keep on proccing the damage, so it's constantly going to do threat generation. But at the same time, I can use my Menacing Strike to also generate threat. So having this on a mob or a creature with this just spikes up your threat generation by a heck of a lot. It's really amazing. I always recommend it. Now the fifth one, as you can see in the video to the left, it's very similar build out right now. My fifth one I always go with is Defense Grid. This is just always beautiful. It mitigates damage by 21%, and it doesn't just help you. Actually, it puts out a big circle, and anybody within that circle kind of gets it. And you reduce the damage by 21% for you, but also reduce the damage to your teammates. So using Defense Grid with the combination of Plasma Blast, if you know a big boss is going to do a massive AoE, potentially kill everybody. Plasma Blast, reduce damage by 25%. Throw this down, reduce damage by 21%. That's almost 50% of damage reduction you can give to your teammates. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's helpful to my teammates. Well, if you have Plasma Wall, it's also affecting you as well. So this is kind of like one of those things that it's very neat to see you can combo and kind of like pretty much save your whole team, like completely save your team's ass just by doing this. It's one of those things that it really requires knowing what you're going up against. Emergency Reserve. Now this is beautiful because if you're low health, you pop this, get some shield, but all the damage goes directly to your shield. So it gives your healer maybe a second or two to actually get those massive heals on top of you. I always recommend Emergency Reserve with any build. Always have this on you as a warrior tank. Now the last and final one, Bolstering Strike. Because this is your simple macro combo, Bolstering Strike and Menacing Strike, proccing the Bolstering Strike first, and then the Menacing Strike. Now you can do this manually. Now you could do the two abilities, but set up a macro. The in-game macro system, is kind of crap. So if you have a mouse that can do this, or a program that you can set up through with your mouse, do it. Do it for any class you do. Find those two abilities that you kind of want to set up a basic macro with. Just do it. So yeah, so as you can see, I only have 3 in support. I only have 2 threat generation abilities. You might be thinking, oh, why is that? Well, I always use this when this is up. I always use this when possible. So my threat is actually constantly super high. I know a lot of people saying the warrior threat generation was kind of bad. I actually know it's very good. You just gotta know what you're doing. And let's say you're running a dungeon, you're like, my threat generation ain't that high. I got a really good DPS and he's pulling a lot of threat over me, or I have a really good medic healer and he's pulling a lot of threat over me. Well, this is what I highly recommend. Dump Bolstering Strike. Just say, okay, I know it's T4, I know it's giving me that extra shield, but I don't really need it. Do that, because you're always proccing this more than your Bolstering Strike, so you want the damage coming out of your Menacing Strike, and that DK, the DK reduction is really good with your Kinetic Energy. So what you do is you put this to T4, and boop, bada bing. Next time you shoot this, it's not going to generate one circle, one telegraph, it's going to generate 2. So that's double threat generation, double the damage from this one ability, and it spikes up your actual threat generation by a lot. Like, wow. You can almost just have this going and not even use Menacing Strike and do the same amount of threat generation that you were doing before. It's very beautiful. It's more of a situational type thing, which I'm really noticing what the warrior tank's all about. Is it's very situational, very situational. You can mix everything to do a bunch of different things. That's what I really like about it. I said before engineer had the most utility, but I was wrong. Warrior has the most utility by far out of all the tanks. And this is true because when I play the engineer, I almost fall asleep half the time because it's the same abilities, same setup, same rotation. And with warrior, I'm constantly changing for different dungeons, different fights, and different setups. Now you can say the same thing about the engineer, but the one core build that I use for the engineer never fails. And when I start switching stuff up, I notice my performance does decrease. Now this could be passed from player to player, but the one setup that I use for engineer is like foolproof. It's godlike. It's really good. So I'm calling it now. I'm saying it. I'm putting all the chips in. Warrior has the best utility for what I've seen right now, and I think down the road it's going to be the main raid tank. No doubt in my mind that when people start raiding, people are going to say, oh, you know what, it's cool to have you as an engineer, but can you be like an off-tank DPS type thing so you can support our tanks? We really want our warrior to be the tank of the meat and potatoes of the raid, I should say. We want the warrior to really be that tank. And the NG can be the salad, you know, he complements the warrior. So yeah, right now that's for the tank. I'm going to quickly go over the DPS. Now, you might be thinking, okay, what's the main rotation for DPS for the warrior? Now, the main rotation for the DPS for the warrior is very simple. It's Relentless Strike, Augmented Blade, try to macro this so it procs the Augmented Blade first, and then your Relentless Strike. That's kind of like the basic macro. Power Strike. Now, basically, when Power Strike's up, you just use Power Strike. And this basic rotation does a lot for you. Now, also what you want to get is Tremor as well. Now, there is also an ability called Radiant, that's it. Which also increases the damage by a lot for Tremor. You want Tremor. This should be your fourth ability that you're not always hitting, but at least using it when it comes up. Now, if you get this to tier 4, you can use this twice. I recommend you get this to tier 4 if you hit level 25, because that's a lot more extra damage you're adding onto it. Now, I like Ripsaw. You can use Ripsaw. I just like Ripsaw because, you know, it's constant damage, it's super quick, it's not like a channel, it's pretty much instant. And if you're quick enough with your rotations, it's not taking up any DPS. You actually can maximize your DPS if you do your rotation right. And the other abilities is really up to you. I switch them in and out between like Leap, Whirlwind, Smackdown, Menacing Strike. I run Menacing Strike about 75% of the time. It doesn't really waste an ability slot for me. I like using Menacing Strike, but if you need, you know, that extra ability slot, by all means use anything else. But I do highly recommend not Menacing Strike, Breaching Strike. Wow, man, my mind goes different places. But yes, I highly recommend this skill. You don't have to have it all the time. I want to consider it a main DPS rotation, but it's very nice to have. So yeah, that's the warrior so far. I have really high expectations for people that do play warrior. I've seen a lot of warriors, especially in my guild, and honestly, you shouldn't be telling warriors that they're bad, especially if you see people playing them. What I find with the warrior is that you have to kind of take 5 minutes with the person and explain it thoroughly. Like, you have to tell them, well, the warrior tank, for example, is a really big shield type of tank. You really need to be mashing those shield abilities to like constantly have that shield proc happening on you, so you're constantly getting shield. It won't always be there, but the amount of shield that you constantly get will mitigate a lot of damage to your health, so the healer can heal you up. Like, this is something like general things you just gotta talk to people about. And that's one of the things when you see someone struggling, you shouldn't call them out. The best thing to do is that if you know how to play that, simple like 20 words can completely change someone's performance. So yeah, I've probably been going on for about 30 minutes right now, so I'm just gonna stop. Yeah, I just want to talk about the warrior really kind of in depth. This is like the official, I think the last warrior vid I'm going to do, but this is my whole outlook on it right now. For right now, if it significantly changes, I'll completely rethink everything. But I'm putting all my poker chips right now, saying warrior DPS is going to be a main raid tank for sure. It is amazing once you hit level 25 and you get extra abilities that you can use. And I really see huge performance, like a massive performance increase once you hit level 25 with the warrior. Now, I called this before, the warrior does get stronger while he levels up, but I'm saying it right now, level 25 is when it all starts, baby. So if you want to use the warrior tank really effectively, get the level 25 and just start using those abilities that's available to you, because I'm noticing that the warrior tank, I think pre-20 is okay, but very like mediocre, like not as good. But as soon as he hit, I think it's level 23, I believe, or 21, he gets a few more abilities that really changes him up. I believe that's when you get defensive grid. It really increases his performance. Basically, once you get defense grid, you really increase your performance by a lot. But yeah, just try out the warrior. I hope you guys really get into the warrior. I'm having a blast with the warrior. I can't stand my engineer anymore. I fall half asleep when I run dungeons with my NG, but I still love the NG. It's basically tanking on easy mode. But yeah, one thing I have to say before, once again, I'm going on about nothing. But what I have to say is, if you're going to go warrior DPS, brutality and moxie is what you want. I tried using finesse, just screw it. You want that crit chance and you want the damage. That's all you want with a warrior DPS, and your DPS will go through the roof. Use that basic rotation I told you, and you will always be number 1 or number 2 on the DPS meter. That is for sure. I can say it now. I've tested it out, and so true. Finish your basic rotation. Make sure it's only 3 or 4 abilities long with the DPS side. You can set up any rotation how you prefer, but the one I gave you is the actual best one to use. And just really manage your positioning, because when I was doing the DPS side, I didn't want to be in any telegraphs, because I basically just want to stay there and just keep on finishing rotation. Rotation comes up, finish rotation. If you don't finish your rotation, your damage will drop significantly. If you have to go halfway through your rotation, then stop applying any abilities whatsoever to reposition or get out of telegraphs, that's a problem. It's a big problem, especially for DPS, because you need that constant, every second counts for damage. This is so true. So yeah, this is WildStar talking about the warrior class. I'm DVS Bodafet. If you want more information, go to our website. You can sign up right there. You can join us on the forums. You can join us on TeamSpeak. You can even join us on the Pergo server. We are on the Pergo server, the only PvP server currently right now. And just say spam in Ilium. Go to Ilium, just spam, because we are Dominion side. Just be like, where's DVS? Where's my invite? Bodafet said to come and spam in zone, and someone will eventually see ya, and they'll either, contact me or contact somebody else, and they'll be like, okay, here you go, there's the invite, because we're doing like mass recruiting right now. And we have details. If people are interested, we are really going to be raiding, and I wanted to know if we were going like a semi-hardcore or hardcore approach. For the raiding content and the PvP content, we're going to have a hardcore vibe to it. It's going to be a really hardcore vibe to it. For the more joining for the guild and just, doing missions and stuff and helping out the guild, that's going to be very casual. But if you want to go into raids, or you want to go into organized PvP where we set up teams, it's going to be very hardcore. So that's just a warning. If you're looking for a semi-hardcore to casual raiding environment, unfortunately that's not how we're going to run it. But if you're interested in raiding, you can always contact and check us out. So yep, once again, DVS Motivate. I showed you the WildStar Warrior, the revised edition of this video, and have a nice night.